So publishers who are starting to use this model are looking for an author who has street cred. And anybody with MD after the name, I'm sorry, you've got street cred. You're the expert. If you love it, write about it, you're more likely to have an offer come your way or to be accepted for an offer when you submit it. I am Dr. Monique Tello. I work at Mass General in primary care, and I teach at Harvard Medical School.
Welcome to the 15th episode of the MD Edge Post-Call Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Andrews. At MD Edge, we know that medicine can be a bit of an awakening at every step of your career, from med school to residency to fellowship or on to practice. So this podcast is all about sharing your stories, what you love in medicine and what you love outside of your career. Here, we want to draw on the things you love and help you find your truth. In this episode, we finish our conversation with Dr. Monique Tello. Last week, Dr. Tello went into detail with her experience on being cyberbullied. In this episode, she talks all about her new book, Healthy Habits for Your Heart, and how you can use writing as a way to express yourself and how you can get your work published as a book. And now, my conversation with Dr. Monique Tello. Around the time I reached out to you on Twitter, thanks for social media, you were releasing a book that is for patients. It is titled Healthy Habits for Your Heart. And it's to me, it looks like a physical listicle. And the listicle has about 100 tips and ways to make the habits stick. And I wanted to know, what was the motivation behind writing the book and what was the process like?
Yeah, and weirdly, there's a lot of overlap with what we've been talking about. But so as a primary care provider, I see a heck of a lot of preventable disease. I'm really into prevention. The number one things we see are all related to our diet and lifestyle. You know, we see a lot of heart disease and all the things that lead up to diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity. All of these problems are all related, and I've started to get very tired of counseling people on the same stuff. Sure. Not just, this is what you should eat, this is what you shouldn't eat, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, but how to actually adopt those changes. Because everybody knows, you know what to do. People say to me all the time, I know what to do, doc. I just can't seem to do it. And so I wanted to write the book that would kind of explain it all. Like, why do we care about heart disease and all these other diseases? Why are they bad in the first place? Why should I even be thinking about this? And then not only this is what you eat, this is what you do, but also how do we make behavioral changes? So it's got a little bit of everything in there. It's got a little bit of it's a little bit of like a medical textbook for regular people. It's a lot of diet and lifestyle, evidence-based diet and lifestyle stuff. Just things that we have solid research to support, nutrition advice and physical activity advice and other stress reduction advice, sleep advice. And then it also has a lot on the psychology of behavior change, written for just the public. These are the tenets of behavior change. This is how you can change your habits on a daily basis, and sort of taking people through the step-by-step of how to actually go about adopting healthy habits and breaking bad ones. And so I wrote that book, and it came out around the same time that I was getting slammed with all these negative reviews, and I was really pissed off. Yeah. Here I am. I poured my heart and soul into this book. It's all about prevention. It's all good stuff. And people are going to say, who is this doctor? Do I want to buy this book? And what are they going to see? 1-star reviews. Oh my God, this doctor sucks. This doctor's terrible. They're going to see all these nasty reviews, like hundreds of them. And I was really upset. I was really upset that my book was being released as this was going down. So it was bad timing, but in the end, vindicated. They're down, and book sales are up.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. So I read the book, and I'm a big advocate for prevention as well. I call myself a medical muggle, which means like I understand that what's like the world of medicine, but I don't deal with patients. I do something different. I'm not in the world. And as a muggle, the reason I liked the book is because of the dose of science that's in there. I think that there are a few products like this at Barnes & Noble or Amazon or wherever you get your books, but they're put out by much more nutrition-based, maybe PhDs or master's degrees or Instagram models, things like that. But the science aspect of this was really pretty fascinating. I always like to read the notes in the bibliography because I'm a nerd. And I liked some of the citations and like one of the tips on alcohol were like, well, one drink every now and then might help your heart, but it'll definitely make you snack along with all the other drawbacks of alcohol. So I really enjoyed it. It was pretty quick, and I'm hoping that it will lead to prevention. But how long did it take you to do this, and did you have a good time?
Yeah. So for aspiring physician writers out there, this was actually interesting. I've been going to writing conferences forever. I've just known that I wanted to write books, but I wasn't quite sure what I was passionate enough about to put all that effort in. And so I started blogging at Harvard Health Blog a few years ago, just blogging about health. And eventually I realized that my favorite topics, they would like assign me topics, kind of like, you're a reporter for a newspaper that say, hey, this study about the Mediterranean diet just came out. Do you want to cover it? And I'd be like, yeah, that sounds really cool. And I would write posts, for the general public, explaining this study showing that the Mediterranean diet is associated with a lower risk of heart disease and strokes and things like, which it is. And I realized I really like that stuff. Yeah. So I started asking, I'd see studies and I'd be like, hey, is anybody covering this study on physical activity and lower risk of Alzheimer's disease? I would love to cover this. And so they started recognizing me as the diet and lifestyle doc, and they started giving me these assignments. And then I started writing more diet and lifestyle on my own blog, sort of along the lines of health and wellness. I have my own blog that's somewhat about parenting and is more and more about diet and lifestyle. So this imprint of Simon & Schuster, Adams Media, it's a small little branch of Simon & Schuster. Mm-hmm. They were looking for an author. Now, this is what aspiring writers need to know. There's a new model going on right now in the publishing world. It used to be that the writer had a book idea, and the writer would come up with a book query, and they would do the market research and figure out if there was a market for their book, and they would write the argument for why their book should be published. And they would
a proposal and a pitch and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. That's not common anymore. I think publishers have figured out that they work in the business. They know the market. So this imprint saw that there was a need for a heart health book that would talk about prevention in a way that also talked about behavior change. They had looked at what was out there, and they're like, a lot of this stuff is kind of telling you what to do, but doesn't tell you how to do it. Right. This doctor looks like she might be a good author for our book idea. So they actually cold called me. They sent me like an email and said, we have this book idea. They literally sent me a book proposal. And they're like, can you write this book? It was completely backwards. And I was like, actually, I can. I really can write this book. I've already been writing this book. This is what I write about. This is what I love to write about. So literally, I gave them some writing samples based off of their proposal. They liked what I wrote, and we just signed some contracts and got to it, and that's how this came about.
And I suppose at that point it just becomes like any other long-term assignment that you did in medical school or residency or at any point, and it made it probably pretty simple. So your suggestion is to network and ask around to see what the publishers are looking for, because they're looking for something.
Or, even better, just to start writing. Like a lot of people are thinking they have a great idea for a writing project they want to write about, and so they put it in a proposal, or they write drafts at home on their computer. I'm saying just get it out there. Just start blogging anywhere. Start submitting articles anywhere. If they have access to something like Harvard Health Blog, which is such a blessing, if they can become regular writers, bloggers on a topic that they love and they want to write a book about, just start doing it. It's almost like if you put it out there, they will come. If you start writing, they will come. If the publishers who are starting to use this model are looking for an author who has street cred, and anybody MD after the name, sorry, you've got street cred. You're the expert. If you're out there writing about something, the publisher is saying, you know what? We really need somebody to be writing about, I don't know, Botox for better skin. Whatever. Pick a topic. If you love it, write about it. You're more likely to have an offer come your way, or to be accepted for an offer, your proposal, when you submit it.
Yeah, that's really encouraging. I imagine that there are a lot of physicians and healthcare professionals out there that would love to do that. So on this show,
writing. So just anything that takes you with yourself and makes you think about stuff going on in your own life, like that's proven. Like we know that that's very good stress reduction, definitely associated with lower burnout rates. So reflective writing and that sort of like writing about what's going on around you and your cases and making those connections is used in a lot of medical training. Residency programs will use that. Even there's programs for attendings that will use that. So this was, to a large degree, and the book itself, it wasn't so much about me experience, but the other blogging that I do, that's also health and wellness related, especially on my own blog. Mm-hmm. Very much reflective writing. A lot of it is almost sort of journalistic. It's about like, I was feeling stressed out over the holidays, so I went outside for a run. And by the way, here's the research that shows that exercising outside really does decrease stress. This is my mode. This is what I do. So it's what I use to relax me, to stress, to put things in context, and it provides great content on my diet and lifestyle theme that I would like to promote as much as possible.
Yeah, no, I'm a big advocate for it as well. So I would say lower elite athlete in high school, not like a freak, but college was a conversation that we were having. I got injured, and that sort of ended that. And after that, I got a little depressed, and what am I going to do with my life? And I gained a bunch of weight. And around 21 years old, I was just in class and they said 5-year plans work. So I said, all right, I'm going to try to lose 65 pounds in 5 years. And I did. I did it in 4 years, and it was great. And it was, I always tell people, I looked at weight loss like the stock market. As long as it's trending in the same direction, I could, gain 10 pounds, lose 20 pounds. I was always stepping down.
Oh, I like that.
And what I realized, the biggest crazy thing for me that I realized, I had no idea what I didn't know what I didn't know, which is something that sounds so stupid and so cliched and soundbitey. But when you experience it, you're like, wow, I can't believe I was eating this or this often. Or one of the big things that I did, frankly, to burn calories, I just started walking to class in college, and it was a game changer. But you never thought about walking as a way to burn calories. And so like books like this are so instrumental for people who want to get jump started, because I didn't know what I didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What sport did you play?
I played ice hockey.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, you know all about that in Boston, I'm sure. A lot of hockey players in Boston.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sort of attuned to the sports world, much more football. I mentioned my husband works for the Patriots.
Low key.
Yeah.
I've heard of them. I've heard of that organization.
He's a little busy right now.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But usually every time this year.
Yeah. Good for you, though. 65 pounds is a lot of weight. I don't know if more time, but I wrote about this, I blogged about this, and have posted about this actually on Harvard Health Blog as well. But I gained a lot of weight in my pregnancy, a lot of weight, like a lot of weight, 65 pounds in each pregnancy, over like the 20 pounds they recommend. And I found myself after my second child was born, well after she'd been delivered, well after I should have lost some of that from like breastfeeding and stuff, I was 50 pounds overweight. I was in obesity range. My BMI was 30 officially, and I wasn't getting anywhere with any kind of weight loss. It was months after she'd been born. I had no excuses. And as a physician and somebody who'd been interested in diet and lifestyle and been somewhat athletic, like a marathon runner and stuff, I was horrified. I felt like so low. and I had to sort of dig myself out of that. And everything that I talk about in my book is stuff that I actually did. But you're right. At the time that I did it, even as a physician, I kind of didn't know what I didn't know. I was literally starting from scratch. I was so out of shape. I had different pregnancies. I did nothing. So when I got back to exercising, literally, I think I ran half a block and was like, oh my God, I'm dying. I felt like I had no muscle in my legs. They were like jelly, and I didn't have a lot of time. I had a newborn and an 18-month-old, and I had no time. I was like, when am I going to exercise? Right. I can't. Going to the gym was there's no way.
Yeah.
I just started doing floor exercises in the hallway at night. Like literally, I would just be doing crunches and really pathetic push-ups. And that's how I started on my health routine. I lost 50 pounds. It took me 2.5 years. So
yeah,
it was,
quick.
like you said, it was long, but slow and steady wins the race, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. So what I found is I'm always standing up for the people who are overweight or obese because I was in their shoes, and what I've learned was that when you're there, it just dominates your life every minute, every waking minute. You're like, I am overweight. I'm so overweight. It's like this crushing thing. And I wanted to know if you had any strategies for clinicians when they're dealing with patients who like had prevention and diet, et cetera. Is there any way what's the best way to talk to patients who are in these circumstances and say, I'm not here to judge you. Like, I understand that this is not where you want to be, but let's talk about it. Let's have a dialogue about, the facts, your BMI and your weight, but this is non-judgmental. Do you have any advice for how to do that in a non-judgmental way, but also to not lose track of the message?
Yeah, so physicians suck at this. They really do. And there's been a lot written about this recently. I could probably pull some articles, but people who are struggling with their weight, they tend to avoid the doctors because doctors are judgmental. They really can be just across the board. It's rare when you find a physician who can talk about these issues without immediately going into the do what I say mode, or, sort of ordering people around, or like, don't you know this is bad for you mode, or you should just quit smoking mode. Like, just doctor mode is kind of obnoxious. So I think the first thing to do is to, as much as possible, figure out how you can empathize with this person who's sitting in front of you. Maybe you haven't been in their exact position, but maybe there's a situation that you've been in personally that you can relate to the patient sitting in front of you on a little bit more of a personal level. For me, if I'm dealing with somebody who's struggling with their weight, maybe they have health issues related to obesity, I often think back to where I was, just a couple months postpartum and hitting obesity range myself, and how frustrated I was and how exhausted and how hopeless it felt. And that helps, I think, a lot to put the discussion into the right frame. The doctor has to get the right frame of mind before they can even begin to have this discussion, because most doctors start out being judgmental, and it's very hard not to sound judgmental when you are. So you have to first sort of clean up your own head and your own thinking, and then try to empathize with this person, try to relate to where they're at, and then try to have the non-judgmental conversation.
Yeah, and I think
that's
absolutely. That's something that, it makes a lot of sense to me. And if you were a practicing physician and you saw patients like this consistently every day, and you wanted so badly to help them, but you got to help yourself, because I can only prescribe sulfonylurea, metformin, and these blood pressure medications so much before you start. Like, I really want you to take control of this because you could do it. You don't have to feel this way. But that often can come off like, judgmental doctor, or like, frankly, lecturing father, or whoever else. And the people there, I can tell, and I'm sure that you had a similar experience, you wake up and you don't want to be told that. What your body looks like and how you feel and how people look at you. And it's a bummer of a situation to be in, and then to go to the doctor and for the doctor to say, hey, you suck, don't do this. That's tough. But also I'm also in the corner of the physician and say, oh man, you don't have to live this way. It can be so much better, and it's not that hard. I promise. Dr. Pepper doesn't taste that good. You can do it. You can work out. I believe in you. And to get both of the scientific medical message across while also not being judgmental about it, it takes navigation, especially for scientists, frankly.
Yeah, and it has to be a conversation. So first, you have to identify that somebody has a problem with it. Occasionally patients aren't interested in dealing with their weight. Sometimes they aren't, and so you might notice that somebody has high blood pressure or high cholesterol or high blood sugars, and I might say, I've noticed this. I'm worried, because I am legitimately worried. I'm worried that this puts you at higher risk for health problems down the line. Have you thought about this at all? Have you ever been told this before? And if somebody's saying, I've heard this, I don't want to get into it today, which happens.
Right.
I'm not going to push it. Okay, I'm here for you. When you want to talk about this, I have ideas, and we work it out. Let me know.
Yep.
And that's sort of the beginning for a lot of people. The same discussion with smoking, same discussion with pretty much anything. Is this something you've thought about? I'm worried about it. Are you? And if somebody says, yeah, this is something I've struggled with for a long time, things worked, then I'm usually asking a lot of questions. I'm not telling them anything.
Yeah.
I'm asking,
sure.
What's worked for you in the past? Have you ever had a period of time that you felt healthier? If somebody's struggling with weight as a major issue, they identify that. Has there ever been a time where you were able to lose weight, and what did that look like for you? How was it? Did it last? Did you gain it back? What happened? So asking all those questions and learning as much about this individual and how they're looking at it is what's going to then inform how you approach it. So asking, not telling.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, you can't can't decide people's diets for them, so I guess they have to come to that conclusion on their own. And I certainly hope that picking up this book in Amazon and Barnes & Noble will help some patients come in. And I also hope that you can, or this conversation could inspire aspiring writers to maybe put it on the internet and put it on Facebook or reach out on Twitter. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to give your information really quickly. If you wouldn't mind, I can tell the audience your Twitter handle. I guess you could do that.
Oh, yeah. So I try to keep it simple. I'm Dr. Monique Tello across pretty much everything. My website is www.drmoniquetello.com, and my blog is on there. Twitter, same. Instagram, same. Facebook, same. And email, drmoniquetello@gmail.com. Love to hear from people.
Yeah, that'd be great. And of course, we provide our contact information in the podcast notes and links to everything that we talked about, including where you can buy the book, also where you can read some background information, and the blog post about cyberbullying. It will all be available in the podcast description. And I just want to thank you for taking the time, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
And that concludes my conversation with Dr. Monique Tello. You can find links to part 1 of our conversation in the show notes. For MD Edge, I'm Nick Andrews.